Studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of conversation, a lot of things going on, a lot of stuff happening in, around, and of course affecting the borderland that we will continue talking about as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And some very enthusiastically already over there in our comments on, again, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, including Angel Rueda with the okay, there's a couple ways you could take this, right? Either a shaka, I think that's the way it kind of has been tend to look like, or, of course, in our area, picks up. Which either way, hang loose, or that works for me. Also, RJ dropping those likes and reacts that we do appreciate, as we got a lot to talk about, including some just not fun situations on the road, including one pretty gnarly looking rollover that happened. And hopefully, now that I'm looking at it, haven't heard from our engineer today. I should probably drop him a call, because a rollover near Rim Road and Scenic Drive. No, it wasn't someone just on the roadway, but one of the reasons that if you're not supposed to be going up the mountain, you definitely shouldn't. Also, a lot of those appointments that were getting canceled from DPS, as much as that sounds like the most fun thing ever, getting redone across the state, not just in our region. And there being rewards for mail thefts right next to the roadway, and now school zone traffic safety set to be discussed by city council. A lot of that stuff going on here. And okay, Angel Rueda clarifying that, yeah, hang loose, so shaka bro, I appreciate it. We'll keep doing that, as we also have Mondaman Konda over on the Twitch stream with the yo, appreciate it. Brabanda with the definitely rock on, or I guess technically it could be protection from the evil eye if you're into it in the more old school way, but also Sean Gardner with the good afternoon. Thank you all for tuning in. So roadway situation's fun, and then one technically under the roads with another very interesting bust of people trying to cross the border in an unauthorized manner and going through a storm drain, and why that's just a real bad idea, particularly this time of the year, but also evolving situations with the resources for border security and immigration control in our area, with some of the volunteer organizations in the region specifically asking for more assistance and volunteers. So, okay, Amber Banna clarifying that it is definitely rock on. Again, I took it that way, but since we're going through ambiguity of hand signals here at this point in time, there's definitely a universal one. Anyway, that's a thumbs up for those listening on the radio. And so there's that going on. And also just an interesting note from El Paso Inc. on how many car washes there are in town, but some serious things going on, certainly over across state lines at this point, with either impeachments or the still threatening of possible impeachment happening, whether you're talking about respectively Texas or New Mexico, as the time actually winding down when it comes to the state impeachment trial for, again, embattled Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, but further updates and wrinkles in the whole situation when it comes to New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, including protests that have begun happening in the Albuquerque and General New Mexico area, as well as more response from law enforcement officials over all stripes there, whether it comes to those actually in the sheriffs, police, etc., but also the attorney general of the states, specifically making an announcement on that. So there's a lot going on today, y'all, as it pretty much always is. So let's dive right into it. And some of the conversation, okay, well, just this one. And RJ saying it does seem like there is a car wash every mile and a half. Okay, we'll put this question out there, and for those that know, there is an answer to this. But how many car washes do you think there are in town? City of El Paso, I do believe, is the number that we do have handy. Yes, there has been a recent headline on it, so it's not exactly a spoiler alert, but once we get to that story, we'll get to that answer. So put your guesses in the comments, or think about it yourself if you're playing along at home or on the road, so to speak, whatever works out best for you. So that's some of the things going on. But on those roadway conditions, yes, Texas DPS is now going through the process of rescheduling appointments that had to be canceled as they were unable to do so with that system upgrade. That just sounds like a catch-all term. I'm not saying that like, oh, that's not what they were really doing. But seriously, how much is a system upgrade of, so we had to take a fire extinguisher back to the servers, and then we got to upgrade things. Like, sure, they are now rescheduling all those appointments. So again, I can't imagine a less excited rescheduling that I would be wanting to do. But if you're in that boat and you need that situation, and you need your driver's license redone, hey, they're finally back at it. Again, probably the most fun way you could interact with DPS. I don't know. I haven't had, thankfully, knock on wood, that much interaction overall besides that. So it's better than I can imagine other things being. But so when it comes to roadway discussion, the pictures took me a minute to figure it out. But our news partners at KFOX 14 and also El Paso Fire Department reporting on what is going on with a search and rescue that had to happen as the vehicle rolled off near Rim Road in Robinson. But the video from our news partners at KFOX 14 show that it wasn't off of Rim Road itself, it was above Rim Road. So I, at this point, as I'm hoping I don't recognize this vehicle, and if I do, I apologize in advance to our engineer, but it looks like it may have been on the way up to like some of the towers and the top of the mountain infrastructure. So I really hope that, I don't recognize it in any case. Again, you can see the full video. Well, the zoomed in video, I guess, from our news partners at KFOX 14. It's not the clearest thing because it's up there. So from one of the higher bounds. So no injuries have been reported so far, but it's just kind of a dramatic instance of what could happen. And speaking of being near roadways, the Postal Service offering 10 G's in reward for information on a theft of group mailboxes over in, I believe it was East El Paso, La Cuesta and Gamboa Drive, far East El Paso, to be more specific, August 16th at 8:45 p.m. So you don't mess with mailboxes. If anyone, not that everyone grew up with the stories of, going along bashing in mailboxes with a baseball bat, that kind of thing. A, don't do that. It's dumb to begin with. B, it's a felony. Like, straight up, you have messed with a federal service. So that's just a bad thing to be doing in its own right. And so the fact that there's a, 5-figure reward out for the person who broke into a bunch of them. Literally, the Postal Service has its own investigation service. I had a friend growing up who actually that was his dream, to be a Postal Service investigator. He described it like a low-rent James Bond. Like, you get to go around the world investigating crimes, figuring out and breaking up criminal rings, the things that do, crime by mail, fraud, all that kind of stuff here. He made it sound really cool, even though it's been not so generously dramatized in popular media more recently. And so, speaking and finishing out the whole roadway theme here, city leaders in El Paso set to discuss making roadways safer, specifically in school zones. And from our news partners at KFOX 14, voting today on directing city manager to assess any existing ordinances, policies, and procedures that are related to school zone safety. Because I think we have all either known or seen the person that has just blazed through there. There have been, of course, a few things that have come online in recent years, including, if you didn't know this, there are cameras on school buses in at least our region these days, and I'm sure there are many other places around the country. So if you're blasting past that stop sign, your insert phrases I can't replace on the radio here, a jerk at the very least. I'm pretty sure I'm safe in that one, but let's just say that you're a very specific kind of jerk in ways that I can't further elaborate on. But in any case, they're looking to further amp up the ordinances. And so at least one thing going on under the roadways in El Paso, where, again, reported by, and on Twitter, it's almost always a good idea to actually check out, or again, X, still not used to that one, with the Chief Border Patrol agent for the El Paso sector, Anthony Scott Good, at USBP Chief EPT, with those pictures showing the El Paso Station anti-smuggling units and the confined space entry team, very specific, encountered several subjects that exited a storm drain along the Rio Grande River. So I'm just going to put it out there that given the rains that we still have circling around, we got a good pounding for at least 3-5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, definitely enough to mess up the windshield kind of thing in my neck of the woods yesterday. And given that we've got those rains circulating, anytime messing with storm drains, arroyos, any of that stuff, concrete culverts, what have you, is a bad idea. But I feel like it's just amped up to 11 when we have like active amounts of big amounts of water that can be coming through at any point in time. But there are some other concerns that have been coming in, including calls that I've received from y'all about the whole resources and amounts available in our area when it comes to the border security and immigration situation. So let's talk about that a little bit more after this next break, with some other commentary coming in, including RJ asking, are cameras at mailboxes a privacy issue? I think it depends. Officially, maybe, but I will say that there actually was security camera footage, I believe, from a nearby house that caught, and that's what the reason they're putting out that call for it. If you want to see the article title from our news partners at KFOX 14, Postal Service offers $10,000 reward for information on El Paso mail thief. I mean, if the mail was just gone and they had nothing to go with, yeah, there's not a good way to do it, but so yeah, there is some on there, but I think it's you got to live near it as opposed to like posting up and putting your own. Yeah, are there battery operated Ring cameras these days? I still got it basically. Well, we've tried to do one, but we keep having connection issues, so it's basically just a regular ding ding doorbell for us right now. Also, the answer to that question that I put out there, or technically the article title, how many car washes are there in El Paso? So some of you all had serious and less serious answers, with Umber Banda saying 500 and Louis Pinato putting 420. Anyway, actual answer is 210, which less than both of your taking both answers seriously, at least for the moment, answer. But that still seems like a lot in town, right? And that is both in terms of the ones that are full service and Don Hilderwood is saying too many. I mean, I was surprised when I heard the full number, being like, damn, but it does seem like RJ was saying there's one on every corner these days, with the most of them coming online being they may be the self-service aspect to it, but including the, you park it on there, it pulls your car through, and whether it be the touchless or the full touch doesn't sound right, but I think you know what I mean. And RJ saying, yeah, that is a lot. So the question is, can they, the question right there in the headline, can they all survive from El Paso Wank? So definitely recommend giving that one a look at, because among other things, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any less coming. I will say, even outside of just our local area impacts, it's been put up as one of those easy passive income businesses, which, having talked with people who do even run car washes, particularly when you think like you start running more than one, it gets easier. If anything, you got more than maintenance work to do. So I don't know if that's a part of it, but big companies, is one of the points they make, have been coming into our area and bringing in those more advanced resources. So that's a few of the things going on around here. But like I said, after this break, we'll go ahead and talk about some of those resources and what, again, hearing from y'all even on the whole border security and immigration situation, as well as, Land of Enchantment, definitely have some enchanting discussions and now back and forth on the entire, every aspect of what has come from Michelle Lujan Grisham's emergency health order, and the impact specifically involving concealed and open carry permits within the state. So that and a whole lot more. And we will be checking in on at least an aspect of the impeachment trial for, and again, embattled Texas Attorney Ken Paxton. So a lot to go into today. Both sides of the border, definitely focusing on all of that as much as we can. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Phone lines a little bit later, as we usually do. But in the meantime, just don't turn that dial, change where you're logged in. I don't know. There's so many ways you can get at us these days. And so stay there, where we'll be back on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash on Trans Mountain westbound at Dyer has blocked all westbound lanes. George Dieter southbound at Scott Simpson, an accident reported. An earlier crash westbound on Arcraft at Upper Valley is off to the right. Westbound Montana at Global Reach, an earlier crash there is cleared. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Don't get hit hard by high prices or low trade offers. Score a touchdown and save thousands on new and certified pre-owned vehicles and get more for your trade.
Trade in and trade up for less during Jeep Adventure Days at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. For a limited time, get $6,500 off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500 Lone-Star, Bighorn, and Laramie trucks, or 2.9% APR for 72 months. 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks, 10% off MSRP. Take $3,500 off MSRP on 2023 Dodge Charger. Get $2,500 off MSRP on 2023 Chrysler 300 and 2023 Dodge Challenger. Worried about your credit or worried that you're upside down in your trade? Forget about it. Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect, or if you owe more than your trade is worth. Trade in and trade up for less at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. $1,515 per thousand finance includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL on select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog. At Petco, Stater Brothers, H-E-B, and more. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Think identity theft won't happen to you? Think again. There's a new victim every 3 seconds in the U.S., over 15 million this year alone, and many don't even know they're victims. LifeLock alerts you to identity threats you could miss, even when you monitor your credit. If your identity is stolen, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either into Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of commentary coming in, including some notes about some of those commercials saying Robin is loud. Listen, however you may feel about it, imagine you're wearing the headphones I got on here. I'm surprised I still have eardrums sometimes. For those wondering what we're talking about in radio land, there is a limiter once it goes through our studio to make sure everything stays more or less simpatico, or at the very least similar levels. So, yeah, if you ever notice me ever slightly bleeding from the ears after a commercial break, it might be involving that. But other things that are being talked about and going on, including a lot of people about the car wash places, including Angel Rueda mentioning the moment parked outside the Crossroads Animal Hospital across from a car wash, and some people mentioning some other major ones, including John Adams. It's very not happy about it. It seems like saying Northeast has more car wash places and quick lube places than restaurants. Again, it does seem like they are everywhere, and sometimes they are co-located. It does feel like sometimes, but again, the actual 410 of them being, 210 rather, being around town still does seem like quite a lot. And some other things about if you just want to rearrange the dirt, go to some of the other places. So, I mean, when the times that it rains and everyone wants to make sure they have a shiny looking car. And also, I will say one thing they talk about in the article is about the memberships that have been both incentivizing having the bigger, more complicated operations around our area. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. And Stephen Christopher saying back to the storm drain thing a couple of years ago, we had such a bad downpour. They really hit quickly that 375 turned into a river. The water was actually up to the hood of my car and caused damage to my engine. Yeah, I mean, the rain we can get around here and in minutes. There's a reason that we have those flash flood watches and warnings, because I mean, sure, we got in certain areas of town a whole lot of nothing and, not developed things, but the dirt and the way we have it, it can get saturated pretty quickly and then just start running, particularly when you get into some of the bare rock and, near the mountainous areas and parts of town. So that's why they do, among other things, say turn around, don't drown, because you may even think like flooding in the desert. Absolutely, it can happen, and it can happen damn quick, or start washing vehicles away. There's been more than a few times, particularly when I was on assignment, either on overnights or even during the day, that we had cars swept away, and unfortunately more than a couple of fatalities that I ended up covering over the years from things related to that. So take it seriously, whatever the situation is. But as I mentioned, talking about some of the immigration situation and mentioning Dyer, I think RJ talking specifically about the car washes and quick lube places, did have a call from a listener the other day, specifically concerned about the presence of people coming from, and part of the releases from CBP, or more specifically Border Patrol custody. And noting that it seemed like there was a lot of them along Dyer Street was the caller's concern. And kind of related to that is that the Annunciation House, specifically, from our news partners at KFOX 14, Annunciation House in downtown El Paso calls for volunteer help amid migrant influx, that they're specifically looking for volunteers of all shapes and stripes, whether it be short-term, year-long, summer internship, community volunteers, so on a temporary basis, that they are noting they are still receiving between 400 to 500 refugees a day being released directly from CBP custody. Now, again, the numbers that are shown over on the city website, elpasotexas.gov/migrant-crisis, the Migrant Situational Awareness Dashboard, is still showing that the, again, encounters are at a lower level, that they have been at least half as much as they were during previous high marks during it. And the releases have been not quite as much as we have seen at most here. I mean, the most that was in the 50th, so the second to last week of the year, or I guess technically third, the 50th week of the year. That's what it actually is labeled as, when they're at 10,000, again, around the Title 42. We're at about most recent numbers, 452 7-day rolling average. So that ends up matching up. What the caller specifically was saying is that, having talked with some of them, that they're coming from either, the downtown areas, being around Sacred Heart Church, and most of them trying to earn money to then make their way to points beyond. New York City being still a pretty popular destination in that estimation. And again, according to the caller and the conversations they had, which still matches up, of course, with experience of what we've seen, because this still is, at the very least, with the way the policies are, the idea of it being a corridor moving along. And some other concerns about Super Lodge on Dyer and Dyer and Hondo Pass. And Stephen Christopher specifically saying, I actually called the mayor's office to find out what the plan was, and they're supposed to be finding sponsors, and that there were more and more of them. They said they're not aware of any such. And so, I mean, this is part of the reason that I do think that there has been a response along these levels, and a continuing focus on it. At the very least, the numbers do end up showing that, again, my supposition that it's kind of hard to bear out without getting further official numbers on it, on what the exact activity is. It fits the pattern of there being things that are occurring in other places, people arriving or presenting themselves or being apprehended in other segments of the border, if not being immediately returned back in that latter case, being then brought here for processing and those kind of things. So again, as keeps coming up, that floated the concept of the so-called remain in Texas policy, or remain near the border, particularly for family units. Again, still a lot of questions that we did have previous callers in previous days bring up, which are valid because they are still questions about how this will work, because there has been no official policy, or at least even a policy statement released by the Biden administration on this point yet. That would be one of the major questions about, therefore, could there be even further impacts from that? So a couple of the things going on there. But I'll tell you what, I don't need to take that next break here already. Some other concerns going on in the borderland we'll talk about, including vandalism and crime issues up in the land of enchantment, but specifically Las Cruces. But then beyond that, further crime concerns, including protests over the governor's order up there to, when it comes to concealed and open carry permits and gun rights in general, and of course gun issues, along with also, of course, legal drugs, fentanyl, definitely be making an appearance in the conversation. So there's a lot to be talked about. We'll go ahead and take that next break right now and get into that. And also the impeachment hearings that are going on this side of the state line. So a whole lot more to come. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. Maser Security Alarms for over 40 years, providing safety, security, and peace of mind with their superior service and protection in the Borderland region. They've been doing this for, again, a long time, and with their certified experience and licensed install and repair techs, they've got the ability and competency to take care of wherever you need that safety, security, and again, peace of mind, be at home, at the office, or anywhere in between. Be sure to ask them about the $6.90 discount, because for listeners to us here, knowing that keeping things safe and secure is definitely a priority for many, and so you get a few bucks off for seeing what they can bring for you. And they do offer those free estimates, and they do have low-cost plans and $0 down options. So to get all the information, see what they can do for you, including their whole new bits of technology that they do develop to solve these issues, you can give them a call at 915-590-0033, 915-590-0033, Maser Security Alarms.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olgain with your KFOX 14 News Update. We're learning more about a local teacher accused of having sex with one of his students. 27-year-old William David Patterson was a teacher at Idea Public Schools here in El Paso. He was arrested by Socorro police last week, accused of having an improper relationship with an underage student. Patterson was an 8th grade biology teacher at Idea Public Schools, the Rio Vista campus. According to police, he picked up the 14-year-old girl and drove her to a parking lot and had sexual intercourse with her in late May. The student's mother went to police after reading texts on her daughter's phone. Several undocumented migrants were apprehended trying to enter the country through a storm drain. According to the Border Patrol, a specialized team encountered the 4 migrants trying to come into the U.S. through a sewage system along the Rio Grande. It was 2 men and 2 women who were taken into custody. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olgain.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
An earlier crash westbound Trans Mountain at Dyer has got all westbound lanes still closed. 10-minute delays I-10 eastbound from Vinton down to Red due to road work. An accident reported southbound George Dieter at Scott Simpson. Slow traffic on Global Reach from an earlier crash. Southbound from the Spur down to Montana, it's up to a half-hour delay. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. It looks like we'll see a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms right through the overnight tonight. Some of those could contain some gusty winds, small hail or heavy rainfall. For your Wednesday, 30% chance of showers and storms, high around 88 degrees. As we look to our Thursday, we'll see things start to clear out, mostly sunny skies, a little warmer with a high around 92 by Thursday. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows and shipping is free. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
Every day, you breathe in thousands of microscopic germs, allergens, and viruses. Don't let these invisible invaders make breathing through your nose impossible. Flush them out with Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril around the back of the nose and out the other nostril, helping flush out all the nasty things that make you miserable. Nearly 4 million people use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. People like Cindy, a verified Navage user who writes, I've had such awful nasal congestion for the last couple of years. I bought Navage and OMG, I can breathe again. I love this thing. Goodbye, Neti Pot. Hello, Navage. End quote. If you suffer from sinus congestion, allergies, or snoring, then Navage is the safe, drug-free solution you've been looking for. Navage is at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and Navage.com. Navage. Navage. Clean nose. Healthy life.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
What will you find at Macy's Backstage? Here's a hint. Fall finds for $25 and under, like sharp blazers, cozy sweaters, cargo pants, jackets, and more. Find the latest trends and new arrivals at a Macy's Backstage store near you. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one, and where also those likes and reacts coming in, including Sean Gardner, James Holmes, Stephen Christopher, RJ, and Angel Rueda. Do appreciate that. It helps us with all those algorithmic things. If you like the ability to talk about the things going on and affecting us here in the Borderland, that's what we take it as anyway. Don't have to like any particular story or thing being talked about. Lord knows I don't. And in that vein, by the way, did get a hold of our engineer at the station, not the one that rolled off the mountain, thank goodness. Not that it's a good thing that anyone did, though. Have it on good authority from them that no one was hurt, though probably a new pair of pants or two required after the experience, unless they were brown already. So that's some of the things going on in our area. But so speaking of the land of enchantment, as we were talking about, further from our news partners at KFOX 14 Las Cruces, business owners call for city intervention as vandalism and crime persist. And we've talked about this in a few times in different ways over, I do feel like, the recent years, including in other conversations we got on ongoing in-depth reporting with our news partners at KFOX 14. But specifically, one business owner in the downtown Las Cruces area, the Little Shop on Main, Patricia Jimenez, owner of it, saying she's had enough, that the amount of damage happening to the business, having to hire her own security, combat crime, saying she's had enough of it, saying, quote, "This happens every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, at least 10 incidents a day minimum that I have to deal with, whether it's homeless, somebody littering in front of my store, coming into my store, threatening, it's nonstop." And so our news partners at KFOX 14 going to the government, including Las Cruces Mayor Ken Miyagishima, saying that other businesses have shared the same complaint, and telling our news partners that they have hired security to patrol the downtown area overnight, and that they were really trying to also talk with the way the legal system works there, noting that crimes like shoplifting and vandalism that resulted in damages less than $1,000 misdemeanors go to the city judge. And Ken Miyagishima, again, the mayor of Las Cruces, saying, quote, "I've shown this former or current judge where this one person was arrested and let go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of the same week. That's unacceptable." So hoping for some changes there with the city judge, noting that the city judge is not running for re-election. So hopefully we'll see some new judges here that will now take their role a bit more serious. Criticizing a judge, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to do that. I'm just saying there definitely is something that do very carefully. That's all I'm going to note from that one there. But so of course, speaking of the land of enchantment and the things that are going on up there, and well, now protests being sparked among other things, including the Associated Press noting in New Mexico governor's suspension of rights to public carry ignites protests, lawsuits, and debates, showing at least one protest going on earlier today with demonstrators display open carry of firearms at a Second Amendment protest in response to, again, New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's recent public health order suspending the concealed open carry of guns in and around Albuquerque for 30 days. So there are protest signs, including those a lot of signs and some things that I'm not going to be able to repeat. Let's just put it that way. But there are further things that are even going on in this in regard to the law enforcement community. So previously we'd heard or talked about some of the responses coming from, say, I think it was the chief of police specifically in Albuquerque, saying that he is not going to be enforcing this order, and then coming in as of yesterday, at least according to one of our commenters and callers, saying that the sheriff had been on it as well. And among other things, the sheriff also speaking with some national media. One interaction stuck out to me, and I have up in front of me from was both with that sheriff and then also Michelle Lujan Grisham speaking with CNN this morning. Caught me an eye as a clip going around on that one because one of the specific questions being asked was, is the order actually being enforced, or is anything happening with it? Of course, what Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has said is that even if the local law enforcement won't do that, the enforcement, that is, of this public health order, a temporary emergency public health order. What they have said, or what she has said, or her spokespersons have, is that they are going to be using state police, among other things, in order to effectuate that. But in the answer, again, as of this morning, given to us, again, CNN in this case, as to the question of, okay, has it been enforced? Have there been any citation issues? It's kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit. I'll give that as my characterization of the answer from the governor. But coming down, and the answer then just being doubled down on by the host in that case, whose name escapes me at the moment, saying that, well, we've had the ability to and we can, but then the host kind of not really taking that one and saying, so that's a no. And that was, I guess, the best kind of answer that was gotten out of it at that point. So there is still more backlash and one more specific type of thing. So not from a officer of the law, but a law enforcement official in their own rights, from the New Mexico Political Report, noted, and by many others here, but the one in front of me. AG says he won't defend Lujan Grisham administration in gun order lawsuits. Being noted specifically that New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres sent Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham a letter telling her that his office would not defend her in the 4 cases so far filed in federal court challenging the September 8th public health order, saying in the letter, quote, though I recognize my statutory obligation as New Mexico's chief legal officer to defend state officials when they are sued in their official capacity, my duty to uphold and defend the constitutional rights of every citizen takes precedence. Simply put, I do not believe that the emergency order will have any meaningful impact on public safety, but more importantly, I do not believe it passes constitutional muster. And that, of course, has been one of the cruxes of, I'll call them efforts at this point, but no specific, I don't believe, filing for impeachment or anything like that yet. Still very much in the, since this came in at the end of last weekend, or really going into last weekend, I guess would be the better way to put it, still maybe nascent at best, and we'll see how this works out. The governor, for her part, sticking with lines of, I'm for the constitutional rights of all of my citizens and safety amongst them, and also wanting to foster the debate and taking bold actions, though I'll note that some of the protests specifically were along the lines of the idea of at least one, see if I can find it here, and some of the a lot of interesting shirts, protests, and again, things that are interesting but not repeatable on air. One of them was, I blame the shooter, not the gun, and the idea of that. So a lot of people were saying, well, where's the protests? Well, there you go, among other things. So I did want to check in on the Texas situation, at least briefly. I'll say the Texas Tribune has been doing a pretty good job of as close as you can get to the blow-by-blow, play-by-play, the major points. If you're wondering why we haven't been doing too much concentrated coverage on the impeachment trial within the Texas Senate, as managed by the House of Representatives in Texas, the thing about court coverage is, unless that's all you're doing all day, you're going to miss some of the finer points here. And, well, the one major point I do want to get to that the Texas Tribune does a decent job of digging into is how the time constraints affecting this trial, but also as a case in point for how much is going on. So the agreement at the outset from both the prosecution and defense, as they were setting the rules of how this trial was going to move forward, is that they would be given 24 hours each in order to present all aspects of their case. So both in their examination of witnesses, but also in the cross-examination parts of it. So the countdown that is currently there, again, according to the Texas Tribune, is that the attorneys for the House impeachment managers have about 9.5 hours left, while Paxton's defense lawyers had a little bit more than 12 hours left out of that. So, do some math there. We're already well into the 24-hour mark of just court proceedings as it is over recent days, and the week and change, I think we've been doing this more specifically. So there's been a lot going on there. There have been some of the more technical notes on a little bit of the tit for tat and infighting, including the idea that abusive objections have been a way to waste the time when it comes to that. Though it's also a pretty fair assumption, I would have to say, is again further put forth by the Texas Tribune, that of the 150 witnesses that were subpoenaed, given that they've been to 8 of them so far, it's probably not going to get there, as they were further citing a report published by the Dallas Morning News. So we'll see once they end up turning it over how they end up going about the tactics of this case. Is that the right way to put it when it comes to legal proceeding? So that one's still continuing, but it does mean that possibly this phase of the trial could be done by the end of this week or short order thereafter, unless they start taking particularly large amounts of recesses, among other things. So we'll see how this one works out. Again, there have been a lot of finer points about the argumentation being made, being brought up. Again, the Texas Tribune has one of the better roundups I've seen on all of the different claims back and forth, the rebuttals to them, including, again, those 8 witnesses that have been called so far. So I'd recommend that more than, than trying to watch all of the more than single day amount, like 24 hours amount of testimony that's been heard so far. So that's a few other things going on, and other conversation, including RJ saying when it comes to, again, in New Mexico, her health emergency is ridiculous. She's going to mandate masks and bulletproof vests against the deadly lead virus. I'm going to say I doubt that, though I get your point that you're making there. So let's go and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll go ahead and open up those phone lines as we usually do at this point during the program as it is. So if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents about some of the things going on and affecting us here in the Borderland. Of course, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash westbound Trans Mountain at Dyer has got all westbound lanes still closed. 10-minute delays I-10 eastbound from Vinton down to Red due to road work. An accident reported southbound George Dieter at Scott Simpson. Slow traffic on Global Reach from an earlier crash. Southbound from the Spur down to Montana, it's up to a half-hour delay. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
Keep your family and livelihood safe with a stable security system from Mazer Security Alarms. Your trusted El Paso security expert since 1982. You can get the best. Systems start at under $35 per month with upfront purchase to lease options and $0 down payment packages available. Get the peace of mind you deserve with Mazer Security Alarms. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033. Mazer Security Alarms.
Tuesdays.
We'll find out who loves football.
Inside the NFL has a new home, and it's only on the CW.
We got to win every time we step on the field.
I'm excited that we back.
Let's go!
And now it's for everyone.
Dominate from the first step to the last step.
With new host Ryan Clark and analysts Channing Crowder, Chris Long, Chad Johnson, Jay Cutler.
What a play.
The all-new Inside the NFL.
Touchdown!
Tuesdays at 8, 7 Central. Stream free next day. Now on the CW.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Don't get hit hard by high prices or low trade offers. Score a touchdown and save thousands on new and certified pre-owned vehicles and get more for your trade.
Trade in and trade up for less during Jeep Adventure Days at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. For a limited time, get $6,500 off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500 Lowstar, Bighorn, and Laramie trucks, or 2.9% APR for 72 months. 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks, 10% off MSRP. Take $3,500 off MSRP on 2023 Dodge Charger. Get $2,500 off MSRP on 2023 Chrysler 300 and 2023 Dodge Challenger. Worried about your credit or worried that you're upside down in your trade? Forget about it. Our aggressive lenders will push to improve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect or if you owe more than your trade is worth. Trade in and trade up for less at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. $1,550 per thousand finance includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTL on select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Klein tools are new at Lowe's. Right now, get the new Klein 3-piece ModBox mobile workstation exclusively at Lowe's for just $319.94. Because Lowe's knows tools. Lowe's knows pros.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the program, particularly at this point during the show. You have those phone lines open with lines available, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM is the number to call. And, of course, Talk El Paso brought to you in part by Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. They do have their fall kickoff sales event going on right now. Let's just say a lot of shouting happening in my household last night, but they got up to $6,500 off MSRP of the new 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Edition. But see them all their deals and details, 950 Crockett Street, or right across I-10 from Sunland Park Mall, which we'll talk about that before too long, I'm sure, as well, as they got some work going on over there at the mall, that is. But, of course, always the deals going on at Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. So we've got a lot of topics here again today. And again, for anyone who may have missed it, engineer for the station is fine, and so is anyone else who ended up falling off, or their vehicle falling off the mountain, though, again, hope they wore the brown pants. But let's get into those phone lines here again. That number, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. In regards to what the sheriff of Bernalillo County said, he said that the action by the governor was unconstitutional.
I mean, that is the kind of a crux of what's going along with it. So I know the question came up yesterday about on what grounds would impeachment be going for, at least one of the argument from one of our commenters along those lines being that, is it misdemeanors? Is it malfeasance or dereliction of duty? Anything? They use some slightly different phrasing on that one, but that's, I guess, oath of office. So that's one of the major points I've been seeing going around on this. And I will say that whatever response was being expected by other state level officials, I'm not sure it's bearing out the way that the governor may have envisioned.
Well, okay, she did have a response to the sheriff saying that she doesn't need a lecture on constitutionality, but she not only needs a lecture, she needs to be admonished and possibly take continuing law education classes offered by the bar of New Mexico.
I guess the real crux of it is also, I mean, the can of worms that this could potentially legally open up if this were to be saying, okay, yes, that can work. I mean, we've even had people who are very vocally in support of gun control and have been notably so for years and wanting to see more of it. I mean, the whole idea of that there is no public health emergency exception to the Constitution is, I guess, the real crux of it, and why we're seeing, among other things, some of the top law enforcement officials, or the top cop, so to speak, with the Attorney General for New Mexico saying that we are not going to be defending these cases because of those constitutional questions.
Right. Well, you also have another issue there, 18 U.S.C. 242 and 341, which is deprivation of rights under color of law and conspiracy against rights.
And I'm wondering if part of the way they ended up structuring this, because it keeps being noted, including in that clip that I mentioned, the one I was reviewing right before the show anyway, that these are civil penalties. But even then, that doesn't seem like it would pass muster as a way to get around that or deal with that. Like, I mean, sure, there's no jail time, but still having fines or penalties imposed on you by the government would still fit the definition of what specifically the Bill of Rights is meant to guarantee protections against.
Correct, and you can have your weapons confiscated. You could also lose your license if you have a concealed carry as a result of this. And also, if you don't pay the fine, then the state can issue a capias pro finem, and then that's jail time. But
okay.
One other thing that the governor should be cognizant of is that, okay, if the AG is not going to represent her, or the Secretary of Department of Health, okay, she may just have to fork out the money to obtain her own representation.
I mean, that is one of the questions about this, and again, kind of one of those confluences across state lines. I believe that's been one of the questions being looked at when it comes to the impeachment trial. At least one of the finer points brought up about when certain staff refused to, for other persons. I mean, it's a real tangled web when it comes to the Texas AG case, but one of the issues was about hiring of outside counsel in order to deal with issues that staff attorneys were unwilling to do so because of not similar concerns, but of their own level of concerns within those own particular cases. I do know that's been a part of it. So I'll say that, yes, that could end up being the case, or at the very least, there having to be further parts of the budget being taken. But that would also, the difference there in the Texas case is that the AG in that case still wanted the defense of prosecution to end up happening. So the fact that there is not that support coming from, again, the top cop in the state of New Mexico does lead me to believe that that would be the case. So, and that was one of the finer points that was being made by the sheriff for, again, Bernalillo County, was on that if they are enforcing this action, that they will then have to bear the brunt of cases that are resulting from it, of, again, under color of law, those kind of things. So, yeah, I don't think that, I mean, we'll see if this even stays. I'm a little bit dubious at this point if this is even going to stay in place for the 30 days, or if the governor is really going to find themselves that committed to keeping this in place. And really, the main argument that she has made is about fostering that debate and bold action along those lines.
Well, then right there you have malfeasance. But anyway, one thing I have to ask of our caller in Mesilla Valley, that Frankie. Okay,
sure.
If him having been in having a security clearance, top security clearance, and wants to follow the rule of law, how can you defend this type of action by your governor?
I mean, that is one of the questions here, and I'm sure we'll have some further discussion on that, should they choose to respond directly, or anyone else chiming in on that matter. So, I mean, we'll keep seeing how the developments on this go, though I have a sneaking suspicion this ain't over yet, so to speak.
Right. One last thing, the Attorney General said that gun violence is a public safety issue, not a health issue. He did state that. So you do have a generalized opinion by the AG himself.
Okay, so you wonder if that would leave open the possibility of an amended order or anything like that. But again, we'll see, and we'll keep our eye on this one.
It won't pass the smell test. But anyway, I turn the mic back over to you.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Thank you.
And with that, we do have to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we got more calls on the line. And if you want to add your 2 cents, of course, you can chime in, as a lot of people have. We'll get to more of those comments here in a minute. But, of course, the number to call is 915-544-5876 with lines available now, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
.com/summit.
Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. An impeachment inquiry into President Biden is being ordered by House Speaker McCarthy. The California Republican made the announcement today, citing dealings the Biden family has made with foreign companies and governments. The president and his son Hunter have denied any wrongdoing. Officials say escaped murderer Danilo Cavalcante now has a rifle. The head of the Pennsylvania State Police revealed that today as the search for Cavalcante enters week 2. It's believed Cavalcante was not hurt. The political rhetoric in Congress is heating up as work begins on a new government funding bill. Members of the House Freedom Caucus say that something must be done to rein in spending.
We've added $1.5 trillion in debt since the so-called debt deal. We are now spending more on interest on the debt than we are in defending the United States.
Texas Congressman Chip Roy says that Congress must use the power of the purse to rein in what he sees as out-of-control spending. The deadline to pass a funding bill is September 30th. A federal grand jury has indicted 5 former Memphis police officers in connection with the death of Tyree Nichols. Lisa Taylor reports.
The 29-year-old died earlier this year from blunt force trauma to the head 3 days after a traffic stop. The officers face multiple counts, including excessive force, conspiracy to witness tamper, and obstruction of justice. They also face multiple charges in a state case, including second-degree murder and aggravated assault. The officers pleaded not guilty to the state charges. I'm Lisa Taylor.
The White House insists the U.S. is not giving money to Iran, despite a $6 billion transfer of funds to the regime. The money was part of a recent prisoners swap involving 5 Americans. The Biden administration allowed banks to transfer the frozen Iranian cash that was previously off limits due to sanctions. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. This year has already seen a record-setting number of weather events in the U.S. that have caused at least $1 billion in damages.
On Monday, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reported there have been 23 such disasters so far in 2023. The previous record of 2022 was set in 2020, with record-keeping in the U.S. dating back to 1980. The combined total for damages caused by the disasters this year has reached more than $57 billion. NOAA said the number of billion-dollar events this year may grow with the flooding from Tropical Storm Hillary in the southwest and the ongoing drought in the south and Midwest possibly being added to the list. I'm Mark Mayfield.
More daytime TV talk shows are returning despite the ongoing actors and writers strikes in Hollywood. Multiple reports say the Jennifer Hudson Show and Sherry will both return on September 18th. CBS's show The Talk will also be returning for its 14th season. This comes after the Drew Barrymore Show announced last weekend it would be coming back despite the ongoing strikes and was met with some criticism for the decision to return. Taco Bell is celebrating Taco Tuesday, except in New Jersey. Lisa G. explains.
The Taco Tuesday trademark is still owned by Gregory's Restaurant and Bar in Summers Point, a dining spot on the Jersey Shore, so Taco Bell can't use it in the Garden State. Just recently, Taco John's, a regional chain based in Wyoming, dropped its fight to retain the Taco Tuesday trademark, claiming it was too expensive to fight Taco Bell. So now, to celebrate, Taco Bell and DoorDash are paying for up to $5 million worth of tacos from over 20,000 Mexican restaurants around the country.
The North American International Auto Show opens later this week in Detroit. The event will be held at Huntington Place and at Hart Plaza, with 35 different manufacturers taking part in the show. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
The countdown is on to our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
The most massive live music event of the year.
Friday and Saturday, September 22nd and 23rd at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
Capital One is a proud partner of the iHeartRadio Music Festival for the 7th year in a row, bringing great products, rewards, and services to its customers. What's in your wallet?
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer over 50 different custom window treatments, including faux wood blinds and shutters, all at prices less than retail. Plus, we'll send you free samples before you buy. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the Borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
If you take care of your feet will take care of you. See how we can help at the Good Feet store.
Why is iHeartRadio the #1 streaming radio app? Free music.
Free live radio stations from all over the country.
Free podcasts. Free playlists.
Free contests. Free artist radio stations.
Commercial-free stations. It's free. I love iHeartRadio. Join the millions of music, radio, and podcast fans on the #1 streaming radio app now.
iHeartRadio.
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 Free never sounded so good.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people tuning in, chiming there, adding their 2 cents. And so, hey, if you want to do so, and trying to, a lot of other conversations going on there, more than welcome to. And of course, those dropping those likes and reacts on, well, not the subject, but on the concept here, including Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Sean Gardner, Stephen Christopher, James Holmes, RJ, and Angel Rueda. We do appreciate it. But some of the comments, including about the Texas side of things, Eric von Holstein Rathlow saying, when I've come to understand they're trying to impeach Paxton with no actual evidence of a crime. They just feel there was a crime. Not sure if that's a typo or if I cut you off there too early. But there was the vote by the House pretty overwhelmingly. I think it was like 120 to the 20s, something like that. So let's just say it does. I agree with you in part that it doesn't seem like the Attorney General has a whole lot of friends in the legislature, but given the makeup of it, we'll see how the 16 charges that he is facing. So yeah, I would say that the House managers at the very least would disagree with you on the idea of there not being any evidence, but certainly welcome to your opinion on that. Other comments include Renato Rivera on the point of in New Mexico, the possibility of impeachment there, saying the governor will most likely go to SCOTUS. Her actions are not criminal. Some states allow governors to make those changes, definitely not malfeasance. So I'm going to draw a bit of a distinction here because I don't believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, that impeachment can go to the Supreme Court. Now, some of the individual cases, those at least 4 lawsuits that are being faced as of the moment by, again, the governor of New Mexico on this case, those potentially could, and those might be the questions being answered at that point. But if impeachment is moved forward with, it's not a judicial process. So I would be surprised if that does here. I'm not going to pretend to be a full expert in how there is precedent for moving into other courts for impeachment, but given that, again, it doesn't even move into a court, my supposition would be no. But someone got something else on that. Please let me know. Other commentary, including Eric von Holstein Rathlow, saying, sounds like an infringement to me. The second clearly says shall not be infringed. Well, it's a common argument on the subject here. And RJ saying, this seems like a trial balloon for Grisham to see how much he can violate the Constitution and what the people of New Mexico will put up with. So, yeah, that's a perspective on it certainly here. As we also have Marky Mandingo with a good afternoon, and Willie Jenkins with the hello. Thank you all for chiming in, and also Marco for Mayor over on the YouTube. Thanks all for chiming in, adding your 2 cents as you see fit. So conversation about this continuing on, but let's dive right back into those phone lines right now. Again, full up at the moment, but they are going to be open, so available if you get the chance. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM is the number to call. We do have Eric on the east side here with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hello there. Yeah, I know you don't report on city council policy matters, so I figured I would let you and your audience know that some very meaningful and impactful policy was passed by the city council earlier today. Policy you and your followers, I'm sure, would oppose. The city council voted to create a safe place program here, similar to that which exists in Seattle and Austin. Now, when LGBTQ plus El Pasoans are harassed and victims of hate crimes, there will be designated safe places like businesses who have partnerships with law enforcement, where they can go to for refuge to report the hate crimes they were victims of to police. This program is going to cause hate crimes to be taken more seriously by law enforcement and make LGBTQ plus El Pasoans more comfortable reporting crimes they're the victims of. I think this is going to radically change the culture here in El Paso and get a meaningful dialogue started about the open bigotry and hate speech promoted by conservatives and Christians here in El Paso. Not only did the city council vote to create a safe place program that will protect El Paso's LGBTQ plus community, but they voted to train police officers to be knowledgeable and sensitive to the issues and concerns of trans people and gender non-conforming El Pasoans. This is training that all El Pasoans should go through because most here are willfully ignorant of the modern medical and scientific community's views on gender and trans people in general. This item was meant to make LGBTQ plus people more comfortable reporting crimes and violence committed against them because there's a massive amount of distrust for police among this community due to police traditionally being openly hostile to them and unaccepting of who they are as human beings. This is incredible policy and sorely needed here in this city, so sorely needed. I say this because I speak out against the egregious anti-trans bigotry promoted by KFOX and their followers in their comment section nearly every day. I see and feel the hate. I see and feel the ignorance produced by KFOX and that which exists among the greater El Paso population here. Trans El Pasoans and the LGBTQ plus community here sorely needed these protections and reassurances, and we should all applaud the city council for unanimously providing them to this marginalized community here. And the city council also voted to protect the dignity and well-being of trans El Pasoans by ensuring their access to public restrooms of the gender that they identify with in city buildings. Today was truly a historic day in El Paso's history for LGBTQ plus rights and protections. And we really should applaud the city council.
Okay, if you want to take that opinion on it, you're more entitled to it here. I mean, I will say that particularly when it comes to public officials dealing with all of the people, not just the people that they like or don't like under them, is pretty crucial, pretty critical. I mean, I know that there are people and already people in the comments with the issues with some of the parts of this, but I'll put it this way. A public official being able to say, and I don't by not mean elected officials, but, you know, public safety or those that are in positions that are meant to deal directly with the general public, if they were able to and be protected in doing so, to say like, I don't like that thing that you got going on in your life. You don't get to have things. We've literally had interviews on that point as well. So dealing with people as people, regardless of their situation, is kind of critical, as much as the whole, again, protect and serve aspect of what is commonly thought of as a critical point of the way police, law enforcement in general works, and it kind of doesn't actually bear itself out in, at very least, Supreme Court cases going along it. People being dealt with, again, as people is important. Though you fall a little bit flat on the idea of us never talking about city council coverage. I will admit we don't talk about what is going on in city council as much as I would like, because not quite like the court case analogy I made earlier, but it's pretty similar that if you don't have someone dedicated to doing just that, you're going to miss some of the more important things. So, and we don't have that ability here. If there's anyone else that works on this show besides me in developing content, I'd want to know who they are and why I haven't been getting their reports that often here. So, I mean, if you want to support this and applaud it here, that is entirely your prerogative. I would actually tend to agree with you in that case, because, again, letting people to live their lives as they choose to do so and how they choose to be, government should have almost no say in how you do that until you make the decision for your rights to infringe on someone else's. That's about the only point I do believe that anything else besides interpersonal communication should get involved with it here. Now, the attacks on the other parts of the community here, including, don't think I wasn't clocking you, calling the entirety or the majority of El Paso as bigoted. Again, good luck with that one. There is just a matter of stance and point here, though I would put the further question to you here about the Christians referring to, the ones that are bigoted. Are these the same Christians that you're referring to as the largely Christian Hispanics that are the ones crossing the border here? That would just be a point of curiosity there for me personally.
Yeah, well, I was very clear. I pointed out the Christians and conservatives who promote bigotry, like those on your show and yourself.
No, you said Christians and not just those that promote bigotry. So does this also apply to the Christians that you refer to that are then, crossing the border in whatever manner that may be?
No, I pointed out the Christians and conservatives who promote hate speech and open bigotry. We checked the tapes, Polk. You're lying.
Okay. All right. Just asking a question here, but we can certainly do that here and see what you said. But you're referring to Christians as being hateful here. Again, good luck with that one here. So we're going to take that next break right now. Appreciate the point of the call and the local focus, certainly. But let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will get to more of the commentary, more of the calls, more of the responses, among other things, as we continue on through the program, as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents. Of course, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso, your News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Today is your last day. This is the last day that you can sign up to be a part of the Work Safe Texas Summit that'll be coming Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte in downtown El Paso. The 2.5 free event does come with a free breakfast, and parking validation is also provided. So besides the time availability, you got very little excuse not to take advantage of this. If you need to find out about safety and compliance information that can help you or your employers protect their workers, there'll be 2 interactive Q&A sessions with safety experts, including OSHA information safety panel discussions and workplace safety panel discussions, and helpful resources and safety materials provided, along with opportunities to network with other business owners and safety professionals. Space is limited, so make sure to register by September 12th. That's today at texasmutual.com/summit. That's texasmutual.com/SUMMIT. Again, the WorkSafe Texas Summit, Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte in downtown El Paso.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Slow traffic continues on the I-10 eastbound this afternoon from Vinton to Red, 12-minute delays. A stalled semis off on the right shoulder, I-10 westbound at the Hunter Viscount exit. An earlier accident westbound Trans Mountain at Dyer has the westbound lane still closed. Watch for an accident eastbound Red at Bear Ridge Drive. Try High Ridge Drive or Wrestler as your alternates. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Are you 55 or older, unemployed, and looking for work? The AARP Foundation Senior Community Service Employment Program serves unemployed low-income persons 55 and older by training them in part-time community service assignments and by assisting them in developing skills to transition to permanent employment. Participants are paid minimum wage and work 18 to 20 hours a week. Let us serve as a bridge to permanent employment for you. Call 855-850-2525 for more information.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
Think identity theft won't happen to you? Think again. There's a new victim every 3 seconds in the U.S., over 15 million this year alone, and many don't even know they're victims. LifeLock alerts you to identity threats you could miss, even when you monitor your credit. If your identity is stolen, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Hey, it's Jesse Kelly. When a restaurant closes, my reaction is, that sucks. They had good steak. When regional banks close or 3 of them close overnight, it freaks me out. This is why I have my own personal gold reserve. It's part of my personal protection plan. Call my friends at Oxford Gold Group. Call 833-404-GOLD. 833-404-GOLD. That's 833-404-GOLD.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-989-8906 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-989-8906. That's 800-989-8906. What do you have to lose? Call 800-989-8906. Again, 800-989-8906.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We are up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one, but also find us under similar pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv. And a lot of people chiming in there, including Juan's over on the YouTube, and a lot of other commentary coming in. And, okay, the idea and commentary on the commentators, and you all can wade into that in its own way. But, and also people saying, no need for safe spaces, bring it on. Like, I'm not going to say that people having a great ability, particularly marginalized communities, is a bad thing, though. I know the phrase safe space has often been, well, there's a lot of opinions on that exist out there. I mean, there's an argument that there are no safe spaces in life here, but again, particularly for people who are of a vulnerable situation, I'm not particularly opposed to it. And again, requiring law to treat everyone equally is incredibly important. So other commentary and things coming up here, including people chiming in. Yeah, so there's a lot in the comments. I'm just putting it that way. Anyway, let's get back to those phone lines now. Again, that number to call full up at the moment, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, including a call for safe spaces for unpopular callers. We can get to every category if we do it that way. But we do have Billy on the west side of the line with us here right now. Billy, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I was wanting to talk about the governor of New Mexico and her edicts.
Sure.
One of the things that's going to be happening with that is they've already proven that they're not going to arrest anybody for the open carry. There's been a couple of big protests. There's been some individuals who have gone up to state troopers and been armed who have not been arrested, question them, hey, are you going to be enforcing this? I don't think that New Mexico wants to enforce it. They want to have it on the books. And if they actually cite somebody for it, then it is going to give somebody else standing in which they can take it to a higher court. Grisham gets through the 30 days with nothing happening as to arrests or whatever. She's going to turn it as to, hey, we got a win out of this thing. We didn't have to arrest anybody. Everyone complied. And the low information voters, they're going to say, whoopee, look at that. Everybody's, you see, we don't need guns. And it's going to promote more and more going on.
I get what you're saying, and I could see the attempt at that kind of spin of it, though, again, the question would be, given that there is a lot of documented, even by, again, we're talking about since this weekend, this situation coming to fruition and the head that it's at right now, given that we have literally documented examples of it. I mean, even CNN, for the people that have opinions about that one, asking, so has there been any enforcement? So the answer is no. Then kind of following up with that, I don't know if that, I mean, as much as the smell test is coming up here, if that particular one is going to pass the smell test with anyone but the most ardent supporters of the governor and her positions.
Well, yeah, but see, she's going to go through this, and if no one's arrested for it, they're going to say, hey, look, everyone complied. And the low information voters, they're going to say, oh my God, look at how great this was. See, we can do it. And it gives her that stepping stone for more tyrannical behavior. And I know that there's a few of your callers that they don't think anything's too tyrannical, but here it is.
Again, the can of worms that this has the potential to open. I mean, sure, states do have their own varying policies on what governors can and cannot do, and I still don't believe that this fits in with the purview of the way the state constitution is for New Mexico. Not going to call myself an exhaustive scholar on the matter, but just going to put that one out there. But still, the idea of there being, or any possible way of there being, again, any emergency or public health emergency or otherwise exceptions to the constitutions, it could open quite the can of worms. I felt the very similar way about the it's now moot, but the Texas law when it came to dealing with abortion, the way they were doing it as a not a criminal penalty but a civil penalty, and where someone could sue you as, okay, what if that same type of method were to be embraced by other states as a way to achieve their policy goals through law that they were not able to do so otherwise. And that's the real issue that comes around with this, achieving policy through anything besides, orders from the executive branch of a state or through the legislature in that manner. And so that being and the potential whims that could come along with this, I mean, don't get me wrong, the crime situation in Albuquerque and the surrounding areas is a problem and one that does need to be dealt with. But doing it in this way, again, the whole, risk versus reward, and also doctrine of unintended consequences is, that's pretty significant in my mind. So I get what you're saying about that, this being kind of the goal of, you want to call it what, Iron Hand and the Velvet Glove kind of doing it this way. But I still see this being a just very short-sighted way to achieve what is probably an important goal of reducing crime and reducing issues and bringing more attention to it. But again, it kind of feels like, taking a kiloton nuke to get rid of a roach infestation.
It's by no means a insignificant deal that she's doing. It is the trial balloon to see how far she can get and what all she can accomplish. And if no one is able to challenge this legally, it's going to continue. Right now, all they're able to do is file injunctions against it.
Sure.
But once somebody has standing and can then sue the office of the governor or her as an individual for doing something she says she knows is unconstitutional and will not be enforced, it's problematic. And for those law enforcement that were sitting at that table the day that she announced it, they're a bunch of cowards because they did not stand up and walk out at that moment when it happened. They showed their true colors, that they're willing to take a little bit and a little bit. And once they started feeling the backlash, that's when they decided they'd speak out about it.
Yeah, they've since made their statements afterwards, of course, some of the ones that were sitting around there, and further, movement around that issue, though I do get your idea and the whole, slippery slope that comes along with it. So again, we'll keep our eye on this one. I'm given the protests that have already been gathered. I mean, we haven't even made it till the first, real full weekend with this policy in place. So what has already been organized, I mean, sure, it happened Friday, and so there was already the weekend in between, but I'm not going to call that enough time to have organized a full-throated response to it yet from any of those that would be inclined to do so. So I would expect there to be probably more going on this coming weekend, and we'll see if push comes to shove at that point in time, though I really don't think that it would be a reasonable expectation, again, even with the implications you're bringing forth of there being no enforcement whatsoever, because if there keep being the flaunting of it in that case with the people taking those actions the way they are, and if more keep doing that, I think it would put the lie to that position. And I mean, again, I get the whole what could come next and what this would be the trial balloon for to come next, though there is, a point made, ad ridiculum, and if it soon becomes apparent to even the person who is even casually aware of this situation, of which I got to imagine that there's a significant amount of people in the land of enchantment at this point, that if they're on even under a particularly large and soundproof rock, has probably been coming up here a little bit more. So again, we'll see how it happens, though. I get your point, but I think that there will be some finer points that will probably happen within this remainder of the 30 days.
Well, hopefully it gets shut down before that, and everyone that's able is, I'd love to say attend the rallies, but we all know what happens when you attend a rally if you're on the wrong side of it.
let's just say that there should be no breaking into of any federal or otherwise buildings in the progress of it, and that'll be a good starting point.
That's correct. All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Appreciate the point on the call. You have a good one there. All right. And with that, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. We got more callers on the line. If you're there, stay there. If you want to get on the line, again, now the chance to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM, or Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. Ruli's International Kitchen, a lot more, but it certainly is a great little gourmet dive with a lot of features that they're always working on. That board at the front door, the first thing I look forward anytime I head into their location there at 4176 North Mesa, basically right near Mesa and Executive and I-10. But they're also posting over on their social media, including, I'd say that particularly the Facebook is pretty active. Some of the things they got coming up, including, of course, brunch and the opportunities they have for their very great things, and even some of the behind-the-scenes video that they are dealing with and putting up there. So they've got features, they got specials, but of course they're even doing some of the revamping of their regular menu. So it's always a great time to go over and visit again Ruli's International Kitchen for the everyday occasion or those special celebrations like I had. They literally catered my wedding, and we've been going back there, of course, since before then. Had to get familiar with the food and learn to love it, but definitely ever since. So again, find them online, rulisik.com. That's RULISIK.com.
Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olgain with your KFOX 14 News Update. We're learning more about a local teacher accused of having sex with one of his students. 27-year-old William David Patterson was a teacher at Idea Public Schools here in El Paso. He was arrested by Socorro police last week, accused of having an improper relationship with an underage student. Patterson was an 8th grade biology teacher at Idea Public Schools, the Rio Vista campus. According to police, he picked up the 14-year-old girl and drove her to a parking lot and had sexual intercourse with her in late May. The student's mother went to police after reading texts on her daughter's phone. Several undocumented migrants were apprehended trying to enter the country through a storm drain. According to the Border Patrol, a specialized team encountered the 4 migrants trying to come into the U.S. through a sewage system along the Rio Grande. It was 2 men and 2 women who were taken into custody. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olgain.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Looking at 20-minute delays on the I-10 eastbound from Vinton all the way down to Sunland Park. Global Reach is slow, too, southbound from the expressway down to Montana. Earlier crash still has all the westbound lanes closed on Trans Mountain at Dyer, and an accident in the Upper Valley. Eastbound red at Bear Ridge Drive. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. It looks like we'll see a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms right through the overnight tonight. Some of those could contain some gusty winds, small hail, or heavy rainfall. For your Wednesday, 30% chance of showers and storms, high around 88 degrees. As we look to our Thursday, we'll see things start to clear out, mostly sunny skies, a little warmer with a high around 92 by Thursday. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Since 2010, Blindster has sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters to satisfied customers across the country with 20,000 5-star reviews and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
Attention homeowners. Costly repairs ruining your budget? Get the award-winning Choice Home Warranty and see how much you can save. Call 1-844-674-5971 for a free quote. That's 1-844-674-5971. Limitations apply. Visit choicehomewarranty.com for details.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog. At Petco, Stater Brothers, H-E-B, and more. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Tuesdays.
We'll find out who loves football.
Inside the NFL has a new home, and it's only on the CW.
We got to win every time we step on the field. I'm excited that we back. Let's go!
And now it's for everyone.
Dominate from the first snap
With new host Ryan Clark and analysts Channing Crowder, Chris Long, Chad Johnson, Jay Cutler.
What a play.
The all-new Inside the NFL.
Touchdown!
Tuesdays at 8, 7 Central. Screen free next day. Now on the CW.
Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A., copyright 2023. This report is sponsored by Bank of America.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv. Andrew J. Polk, squeezing in the phone calls we can before we get to the end of the hour here. Getting close enough to it, but we'll do our level best to get to all of them here. Again, that number, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM is the number to call. Full up at the moment, but again, we'll squeeze in what we can, so may the odds be ever in your favor. Best I can do for you right now. We get to as much as we can every day when we get into the phone lines, as much as we can, but well, let's just dive straight back into it right now. We do have Johnny over in Central on the line with us here right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm trying to get educated on this situation in New Mexico. I haven't been paying too much attention. And I think I heard through different pieces of news media saying something about the governor is going to ban permitless carry or open carry, which is two terms I'm confused with.
Sure.
And if so, I'm trying to figure out why the law enforcement wouldn't support her, because I'm quite sure you're going to educate me on this. But I'm thinking, my thought is, if she's going to ban open carry, which when I hear open carry, I hear Gunsmoke, Cheyenne, the Open West, walking around with a gun on your hip or wearing a holster. That's what I think open carry. And so I'm wondering why, if that's true, why isn't the law enforcement supporting her, and also the citizens support her for not having people be out there just aimless, just walking around with guns? So could you educate me on that, please?
So, sure. So the situation that we're looking at and what Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham did late Friday, or later in the day, at least on Friday, was specifically to ban effectively public carry of firearms, except for very limited circumstances, basically mostly transportation. So specifically what she did was suspend both open and concealed carry permits within the state. Now, New Mexico, frankly, was ahead of Texas when it came to the availability of gun rights. They actually had permitless open carry was legal previously already within the state of New Mexico. But for those that do have the carry permits, those have been suspended for 30 days within the state. Well, not just within the state, but specifically Bernalillo County, and therefore the city of Albuquerque is the very specific part of it. So we read a little bit part of her order, or the letter that was put out from her office on that yesterday. But again, so specifically trying to find the specific site here on there. It's a 30-day suspension, emergency public health measure, applying in most public places from city walks and sidewalks to parks, and that anyone and state police responsible for enforcing a civil violation and carry of a fine of up to $5,000. And there actually has been a lot of backlash, specifically from the Bernalillo County District Attorney, the mayor, also there in Albuquerque, and police chief, they're saying that they would not enforce the order. So there has been a significant amount of, I guess, would say at least from other elected officials and public officials within the state of New Mexico opposing this. And it has been put otherwise, including from, again, noted anti-gun activist David Hogg, saying there is no public health emergency exception to the Constitution.
Well, okay, I guess I get it. But as I said before, I won't take up too much of your time. Anytime I hear banning weapons, for whatever reason, to me, I think that makes the public safe, and I just wish the power to be was supported. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
You too.
All right, with that, we'll get to at least a couple more calls here on the line. We do have Frankie and Missy on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us. Frankie, listen to the phone, not the radio. Frankie? Let me give you a 5 count, Frankie.
This is so
There
funny.
we go.
This just went off the deep end. Everybody's in a tizzy. It's Pandora's box. Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Well, let me tell you something, everybody out there in the southwest border region. I just love what she did. This is what I expect of my elected representatives to take care of business. We have got a problem killing people, if you will, and all that kind of stupid stuff. Everybody out there running around with their iron, thinking they're Wesley Hardin and J.B. Books and Billy the Kid. What kind of stupid stuff? Well, she's out there attempting to do something correctly. Now, you can argue 14 different ways this Sunday, and I've done this before. Yeah, this is going to be a big problem relative to the legal aspects and the Second Amendment and everything else under the sun. But she is trying to be proactive, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if it works, it shows that by putting everybody on the shelf for 30 days and somehow that works, that's great. But I don't see anything wrong whatsoever. She's not saying she's going to take people's guns away. Any of this typical NRA and whack job conservatives out there, you're going to take my gun, you're going to take my gun. No, she's not. She's just saying, time out on this thing until we can get this thing under control. I see nothing wrong with that. Now, that's my opening comment.
Yeah, okay, I get it. And no, it's not the, NRA fever dream of, kicking down doors, going in and raiding people's houses and taking them away, or even necessarily as far as maybe some red flag laws would look or go. But, and this is not me being in favor of it in that case, but again, the implications that come from this, if any right could be abrogated and be put on hold because of what is declared as an emergency, again, state laws and different states may be a little bit outside of the purview of the information I'm considering here. So if I'm missing anything relevant to this, if anyone has an example, I'd love to hear from it. But I'm going to go back to practically the Civil War and the suspension of habeas corpus on the federal level, of even which at that point there are questions of if that was within the purview of the office of the president at that point in time. If that was something that truly could have been done, it wasn't really challenged at that because, as crises go, a civil war is one of the more serious ones I could imagine beyond alien invasion or most things from space, to be honest, including giant meteor, that kind of stuff here. But even then, that having happened is not necessarily settled in its own right because basically there just were not the challenges at that point in time. Had there been, those would have been very interesting to have seen the outcome from it here. And obviously, with this being not the highest executive office in the land, but the rather office of a governorship, the idea of being able to, again, put on hold any amount of rights for an articulated reason in this case, but through a process nothing more than a enforcement plan. And again, and then to further answer, pulled up the statement from the office of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham that the public health order, which, I'll just read the title of it, Governor announces statewide enforcement plan for gun violence, fentanyl reduction. Plan includes 30-day suspension of concealed open carry in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, and noting that the shooting of multiple children as part of it, and that the public health order includes directives to curb gun violence and drug abuse that the governor has declared to be public health emergencies, and declaring gun violence a public health emergency specifically. So I just got to say that the idea of this being used, if you like the outcome of this, if you think that it's a good thing and you're concerned about this issue and you feel that this is justified, I'm not going to say that or call you wrong in your opinion on this, but that the idea of what this could further then create or make happen, again, kind of the example we gave yesterday is of, if drunk driving were to be declared as a public health emergency and therefore suspending, technically it would be one of the amendments, but basically reinstating in a limited way prohibition with any particularly impacted area from this. There are a lot of ways that this could be interpreted or further used by other individuals or other, different states in a similar way if this were considered to be able to pass constitutional muster, which I got to say, I do not think it does.
see where this thing lands. Come on, let's be realistic, everybody out there. She is an elected official. There's no doubt in my mind she got with her heavyweights and said, hey, listen, this is what I want to do. What do you think this is going to do to me politically? And they said this or they said that. I want to actually believe that she looked at this thing logically as an elected official. And again, I just love the heck what she's doing because she's trying to do something to affect this situation, to make it go away, if you will, for want of a better term. I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, going back to your earlier comment about, okay, you know, the drunk driving, something like that. Hey, listen, I love my booze. You know, no question about it. But if she were to say, you know what, I'm going to shut down all beer joints for 30 days to make it miserable for the drunk drivers out there, I don't have a problem with that. I love my booze, right? The only difference is, of course, I would stock up my beer cooler so she can shut down 14 different ways of Sunday, but I'd still have a lot in my. But the point is, again, I'm going to reiterate this thing. I don't care if I sound like a broken record. She is out there trying to be proactive and do something about it. That's my main point. And she, in my mind, is that kind of a politician that I think the United States needs more of. Yeah, she's an elected official. The rest of the population, the electorate, is out there going to say, well, we don't like that. Okay, throw them out of office. And that's right. Go on shooting everybody. You morons. Go out there with your stupid guns hanging on your hip thinking you're cool. You morons. That's what you are, morons. And that's my ending comment.
Fair enough. Again, entitled to your opinion on this, though I will say that we are talking about, in those instances, as mentioned by the governor's office, and that are bad things. Make no mistake about it. The death of any child for any reason is not going to be something I'm going to be ever finding myself applauding. But of the way these actions went about, that these were crimes. And that was one of the points brought up to the governor in some of these news conferences, is that these were crimes. These were not things that were, someone by doing something entirely legal, this ended up happening coming from it. No, these were crimes in their own right and are subject to laws in their own way, so that the essential major question about this then comes down to that this enforcement action, the way it's being put forth and the way that is being therefore framed about particularly encouraging debate, as is constantly a refrain coming from the governor's office on this, is that the consequences are primarily following on what were previously law-abiding citizens. If someone did not have an issue, but were finding themselves in, again, previously before this order came into place, so an overnight criminal, so to speak, in that case, if they're not following this, that were previously not in that case. So the way that these consequences are being put in is, I mean, sure, there is some more enforcement that does come along with this, including more wastewater testing for fentanyl at schools, among other things, and also ensuring safe storage laws are being followed, and gunshot victim reports being ramped up on. But a lot of these end up becoming on those that were previously not doing anything wrong as the consequences.
No, I get all of that. Everything you're saying, I can't argue a number of the issues you're bringing forth. All I'm saying is New Mexico is a progressive state. I'm progressive. She's progressive. Progressive people are intelligent. They're not, as this one other caller talking about, low information type of people. I'm saying that she's coming out, and the people that think like her, let's fix this problem. We're not trying to take away anybody's rights. We're trying to adjust it so everybody still has their rights. But by the same token, you're not going out there whacking everybody. Good grief. I don't see... It blows my mind, Andrew, and everybody out there. So, what is the problem? Why can't you come up with a solution? At least she's trying. It's going to fall flat on her face. Maybe that happened. But at least she's trying to be out front. Let's do something. That's my final comment.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Okay, Andrew. Take care.
I think we got time for at least one more call on the line here. We do have Marco in Central on the line with us here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
How's it going, Andrew?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Oh, boy. Okay. For everybody, including Eric, yeah, welcome back, Eric. It sounds like a broken record, so nothing changed with you. But you all, okay, Frankie and Eric, and Raul in some ways sometimes, even Raul, what you all are doing is playing with Promethean fire. And what's going to happen when Promethean fire gets out of control It destroys everything. Imagine, so they start off with the guns, and later on there'll be an act or something will happen. Hint, I'm not talking about staged FBI actions. And then all of a sudden, we need to ban white supremacy. All white people aren't allowed in certain areas. Why not? It's a public health issue. Abbott comes on, he's like, I'm going to ban illegals because it's a public health issue. I mean, they're already sending Owen Schroeder to prison for saying that he does believe that the election was stolen. And he has the right to believe that, but obviously not in America 2024. If you believe that the election was stolen by the regime, well, you're going to go to jail. And so freedom of speech, your rights to be free as an American are in, how do I want to state this? I don't want to say they're being assaulted, but I will state this. The governor did state that none of your rights are absolute. And she's right about that. Because if you're not willing to fight for your rights, they're not absolute. And so I tell everybody, be careful. Don't play with Promethean fire because it starts off small and that's the shark bumping you. And next thing you know, they want to take a bite. And we've already seen, look, I have nothing against police officers. I already know that they're in a hard place. Okay. But we've seen the actions of officers when they're just enforcing the rules of the city, the state. They'll arrest you. Stay in your home. What are you doing outside? Go back home. Have you been tested today? Where's your mask? What are you doing? And here in the States, it wasn't bad. Look in Australia. Man, they would beat the crap out of you. So this is so hard. I think of myself like I wanted to address Eric directly. And I will say this about that. LGBT community, let me reframe it this way. LGB, lesbian, gay, bi, they have struggled long and hard. They have their own struggles, their own sacrifices. And when I say sacrifice, Harvey Milk is a sacrifice, okay? He stood up for what he believed in. That's why they have the beautiful gay pride flag. And so my whole thing is I'm not going to defy science just to make somebody feel better about themselves. You may think you're a woman. In some ways, you may even feel as if you're a woman. But the reality is you will never, ever be a woman. And so we have to find ways to preserve safe spaces for women. I can't even believe I'm saying this. But with that being said, I think we should also find a way, maybe, see, this is where you get, this is again, playing with Promethean fire. Let's make a third bathroom for gender fluid people. Let's make a fourth. I mean, this is exactly why you had black and white bathrooms, right? Am I mistaken here, Andrew?
Yeah, I think those were some different issues going on there. Also, I'll say on the whole bathroom thing that American bathrooms just kind of suck overall, and I would much prefer European-style ones where they have, it's not even just a separation, they're true individual stalls and ones that are their own damn rooms and where you can't lock eyes with someone walking past regardless of what's in their pants. But I will say this because we're getting pretty well close to the end of this segment, having to get that next one here, is that, again, rights exist in this case or in the other ones we're talking about, as the ones you just brought up, as things that are not suggestions. They are not there on the whim of whoever is in charge at the moment. They are there because they are inalienable and guaranteed to us by our creator as the way that these are founded upon. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, particularly when it comes to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights specifically, that the Bill of Rights does not grant us anything. It is not something that is saying, hey, we have put it forth here, therefore you get it. It's that these are the ones that are specifically protected because of their extreme importance of this. But again, the 9th and 10th Amendments are often overlooked as being the ones that say, hey, by the way, just because we listed them here doesn't mean that these are the only ones that you have. The fact of the matter is that these are the ones that often have been at particular issue. I mean, that's why, Third Amendment never really comes up, but quartering, because that was a specific issue that happened around the time of the Revolution about saying that, well, we have to put people in your house because, well, we're the government, effectively. So point is that rights exist whether you like them or not. You can choose to exercise them or not, but your ability to have them is not something that you can be told whether you do or not. And that is, I think, one of the biggest things being missed as part of this.
I absolutely agree. Amen, brother. And let me tell you, the less people read in our society, okay, because kids do not read books anymore, and they're not taught to write, handwrite. I mean, cursive. Our Constitution will become a hieroglyph to them, and they won't understand what the Constitution means or what it is, what it stands for. And this is why I've said it before in your show, and I'll say it gladly again right now. The answer to 1984 is 1776. I love you guys. Marco for mayor. Take your freedom seriously. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
Fair enough here. Well, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Have a good one, brother.
And with that, we're going to, okay, I think I managed to get myself in trouble enough with the time here that I think we'll just have to end the show there for today because we are out of time here for this particular program. I swear I was going to do that, but hey, we got into some serious stuff today, as we will continue doing every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. as we do here on Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM. So some of the things we're working on for you is, we're going to keep tracking these situations as we are looking at the potential end of the impeachment trial for Ken Paxton in the Texas legislature, the embattled attorney general of the same. We'll keep around that one as well, but other local issues, other local topics and discussions as they keep coming up. So we'll have to leave it there for today because we are out of time. I do want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. If you want to talk about the things, and I do mean everyone, about the things affecting us here in the Borderland, that is what we do, and we'll continue to do so every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So until then, until next time, I want you all to stay safe out there, look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. One final note, Hammer and Nails, one of El Paso's newest men's grooming destination. I'm looking forward to my visit there, actually just doing a checkup with them, see about the new stuff that they got going on and rolling out, and making my next appointment to, of course, continue to be and feel looking and feeling great with their head-to-toe men's grooming services, particularly their Club Luxe services with their one monthly price for unlimited services and their specific Luxe 24 hand, foot, and cut experiences. You want to find out about all of that, just find them online, hammerandnailsgrooming.com. That's hammerandnailsgrooming.com. They're right over there at the Fountains at Farrah, 8889 Gateway Boulevard West, Suite 1760. That's on the lower level. We got some more giveaways that are coming up for you, so stay tuned for all of that. And again, find them online, hammerandnailsgrooming.com. That's hammerandnailsgrooming.com. And I'll see you there.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound still slow coming.